Shalom Israel. First and foremost, I want to say all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to you brothers throughout the four corners of the earth, teaching the truth and righteousness and sincerity. To you Israelite foreigners, come back home to the truth. To those that passed away serving the Lord, the dead in Yahushai, shall arise first. All right, I want to, I'm not trying to waste no time. Those of y'all that remember the Men of Valor 12 page where we were, where I was particularly going into different historical accounts, you know what I'm saying? I started my own page, Lord willing, because they can't shut us down on all pages, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to go back into doing some of the same stuff. Hence the name of the page is Men of Valor, DRIN, which basically just means doctrine, and 187, which means killer, because we're killing these false doctrines out here. Now I'm going to start, I don't know if I covered this book in the original page, but Indians or Jews by Lynn Glasser. There's a second book in this volume here by Manasseh Ben Israel called The Hope of Israel. To be honest, there's nothing earth-shattering there, so I'm just going to go into the main one. So the first thing said in the book, of course, after the preface, which doesn't really say much of anything. Preface, they usually, or the preface, they usually just go into why they wrote the book, which I didn't see anything big there, so I'm not going to go into it. Tracing the history of the notion that the American Indians were descended from the 10 lost tribes of Israel began with a sense of curiosity at Joseph Smith's success in fabricating an elaborate historical account and in establishing a religion which in its day had widespread appeal. All right, so what that's saying, in a nutshell, is first off, they thought that Joseph Smith just made that up. The whole Book of Mormon, and which actually, historically speaking, it's accurate records. I wouldn't put it with the Bible because those have been tampered with by the so-called white man. But they thought that he just made it up. So because of the discussion that ensued from him allegedly making up these stories, that drew a lot of scholars to really look into whether the so-called Hispanics and Native Americans are of the lost 10 tribes of Israel. So let me see something here. Where can I go? Oh, page 3. I'm gonna go right to page 3 in Indians or Jews. In 734 BC, King Tiglath-Pileser III overran the northern provinces of Israel and carried off many people to Assyria. All right. 20 years later, the Assyrians came back under Salmanaser IV and besieged Samaria, the capital of Israel, for 3 years. And in due course, Samaria fell. The Hebrew account was, in the 9th year of Hosea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried away Israel into Assyria and placed them in Halah and Habor by the river of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes along both banks of the Tigris River and at the other end of his empire. So was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. The Assyrian ruler had the report of his victory inscribed on clay and filed away in the archives. It began, the city of Samaria I besieged, I took, I carried away 27,290 of the people that dwelt therein. So out of the city of Samaria, this is just the capital of the northern kingdom, he took over 27,000 people. That's one city, you know what I mean? 50 chariots from them I took, and the others their share I caused to take. All right, so just to go into a scripture where this is alluded to. Let's see, 2 Kings. Let's get it. Let's get the scriptures. All right, 2 Kings, chapter 18, start at 9. And it came to pass in the 4th year of King Hezekiah, which was the 7th year of Hosea, son of Elah, king of Israel, that Salmanassar, king of Assyria, came up against Samaria and besieged it. And at the end of the 3 years, they took it, even in the 6th year of Hezekiah, that is the 9th year of Hoshea, king of Israel. Samaria was taken. By the way, in case anybody was wondering what Samaria means, it means watch mountain. It's the Hebrew Shamarwan. Shamarwan. And the king of Assyria did carry away Israel unto Assyria and put them into Halah and in Habor by the river. So this is just basically the scriptural account that's going on here. Now, verse 12 says, because they obeyed not the voice of the Lord their God, but transgressed his covenant and all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded them, and would not hear them nor do them. All right, so, that's just a scripture to back up what I just read in the history, in the historical account. Now skip to, because I'm not going to go over everything. Everything is not, a major thing that we need to go into. All right, going into page 15, it says, we can imagine how distressing it was for the Spanish Catholics to see Indians doing many of the same things for the good of their souls as God's children did for theirs. All right, so they were very so-called religious. All right, want to also go into, let's see, page 16. It says, it's talking about, let's see, the Incas. One of the Incas said this, I tell you then that our father the sun must have another Lord more powerful than himself, who orders him to make his journey day by day without resting. So these are the Incas. The religion of the Incas was, like their government, founded on the law and nature of reason. So the Incas knew that there was that the sun followed the orders of a higher power. All right. Page 17. It is still held by many that Christianity was introduced into the New World by either Yahushua or the Mormons or an apostle or missionary before the coming of Columbus. So we knew about so-called Christianity, according to many scholars. We knew about Christianity before the so-called white man came and introduced us to their brand of Christianity. All right, now let's see. This is about Issachar here. To explain how the devil-worshipping Indians could practice rites similar to that of the Christians, Herrera wrote, he, speaking of Huitzilopochtli, the god of the Mexicans, commanded them to leave their country, promising them dominion over the other tribes in a fertile and very rich land. They carried this idol in an ark of reeds on the shoulders of 4 priests, who taught them rites and sacrifices and gave them laws. And without his approbation, they did not proceed a step. When they halted, they made an altar like that in use in the Catholic Church, and placed the ark of the idol upon it in the middle of the camp. And they observed his directions respecting the cultivation of the ground's habitations and other matters, for neither did the devil hold such familiar concourse with men as he. And accordingly, he thought proper in all things to copy the departure from Egypt. Copy the departure from Egypt. So what's copying the departure from Egypt? The Passover, which we're about to get into in about 2 weeks. And the pilgrimage performed by the children of Israel. All right. Now, written by Torquemada in a book called Indian Monarchy, it says, he remarked, though, that on finding accounts in Garcia and Betancourt of the similarity of the Mexican institutions to those of the Jews, he found the chapters corresponded fairly closely. All right. So these are just points out of the book Indians or Jews. This is going into history, man. This is what scholars do, is review the history. All right, page 21. As we know, in order to talk with the Chinese, because, there was that bullshit about that Columbus sailed to the so-called Americas, whatever, but they say he thought he was going to China. It says he took with him in 1492 a converso, Luis de Torres, who had been a Jew and knew Hebrew, Chaldean, and even a little Arabic. So why are you going to China to speak the Babylonian, the Middle Eastern, or the Hebrew language? All right, so that's pretty much, that cuts the shit out of, let's see, that cuts the shit out of that bullshit. You guys say that the Hispanics are not Israel. Well, we got a lot of proof already. A lot of scholars, top scholars, knew that the so-called Hispanics, or the people that migrated to this hemisphere, were children of Israel. All right. We've already covered Issachar. We've covered Asher with the Incas. All right. We covered pretty much the whole 10 tribes. Well, starting with Ephraim, with the 2 Kings 18, verses 9 through 12. So let's see. Let's go further. All right. Consider, page 22. Consider the word Cuba is not that excellent Hebrew. So in other words, Cuba is a Hebrew word. This is a country I was born in, actually. But some imaginary cavalier may object. Cuba means a helmet. Notably, the helmet of brass in which Saul arrayed David when he went about to slay the Philistines. So let's look up any scripture that has the word helmet in it, using the My Sword app. Right? Oh, guess what? We find the exact same scripture that this is talking about. So let's see. And he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail. So let's see what helmet is in the Hebrew there. Kawabai. I don't know if you can see it. Kawabai. Not cha, but ka. Kawabai. In the phonetic, it says koba, because that they talk, so-called white man's Hebrew. It's not Yiddish, by the way. But it's kawabai in the Hebrew, which is Hebrew for helmet. All right, so, and also, they also say that Cuba could also come from the Taino language. There's two words in particular that sound like Cuba. One is Cubao, which means fertile and abundant land, or Cowabana, which means great place. All right, so, but Cubans, the so-called Cubans like myself being Hebrew Israelites, the word Kawabai, which sounds a lot like Cuba, is sounds a lot, and it means helmet. All Spanish historians, okay, let's see. Page 23. All the early Spanish historians noticed the similarities between the customs of the Indians and the Jews. They were of two opinions, so there were two basic schools of thought in relation to the Hebrew Israelites and the so-called Native Americans. Some thought the Indians were Jews. Others thought that they had been instructed in their rights by the devil. So they thought that the so-called Native Americans, Hispanics, just kind of were coached by the devil to follow this philosophy. But with that, I'm not going to, I'm just going to cut the recording off because I can only upload 15 minutes, but be right back with the rest of this knowledge. All praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua.